Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In the 8th year of the Jiaqing era during the Northern Song dynasty, the brilliant ruler Emperor Renzong of Song, Jiaqing, passed away at the age of 54. This emperor, known throughout history for his benevolence, left behind a deep sorrow throughout the Song Empire. After his death, the people spontaneously organized mourning ceremonies to express their longing for this beloved ruler. When the news of Jiaqing's death spread, the capital city, Kaifeng, was filled with wailing. Historical records state, the capital city ceased, its markets and alleys were filled with cries, lasting for several days. Even beggars and children in front of the imperial palace gates burned paper money and wept. In Luoyang, when the news arrived, the citizens also halted their businesses, and the entire city burned paper money, with smoke covering the sky so thick that it seemed like the sun had disappeared. Even people in remote mountain areas mourned his passing. An official passing through Jiangu in Sichuan saw women in the mountain valleys wearing paper mourning hats, grieving for the emperor's death. The news of Jiaqing's death even reached the Liao dynasty, where it caused a scene of universal mourning, with people from all regions crying. Liao Emperor Daozong, Yelu Hongji, upon hearing the news, was deeply moved. He shook the hands of the Song envoy and lamented, "For 42 years, we have not seen war." He even proposed building a tomb for Emperor Renzong of Song to honor his memory. From then on, every Liao emperor respected Jiaqing, illustrating the profound impact of his reign. According to historians, Emperor Renzong ascended the throne at the age of 13 and ruled with benevolence, earning him the respect and title, Renzong, from later generations. Although he knew that Empress Liu was not his biological mother, he still treated her with utmost respect, honoring her as the Empress Dowager and serving her with rare filial piety. Jiaqing's biological mother, however, was a nun. It is said that one day, she was favored by Emperor Renzong of Song, and subsequently gave birth to Jiaqing. Perhaps even the nun herself could not have imagined that her son would one day become one of the most revered emperors in Song history. According to some historical sources, one day, Bao Zheng, a famous Song dynasty official, was on an inspection tour when he met an elderly woman named Li. She tearfully told Bao Zheng of her tragic story. She had once been favored by the emperor and had given birth to a child, only for the child to be taken from her. Bao Zheng decided to investigate the case thoroughly and, with his unwavering sense of justice and wisdom, uncovered the truth. This led to the famous story of "The Cat Replaces the Crown Prince," which, although dramatized in modern Chinese television series and novels, has some historical basis, though not nearly as exaggerated as portrayed in those works. Bao Zheng, a real historical figure, lived during the reign of Emperor Renzong of Song. The central figures in the "Cat Replaces the Crown Prince" story were none other than Emperor Renzong himself. To understand this strange palace story, one must first look at Emperor Renzong's background. Upon his ascension to the throne, Renzong respected his adoptive mother, Liu, as Empress Dowager. Liu was a well-known figure in the history of the Northern Song dynasty. However, Liu was not Emperor Renzong's biological mother. His real mother came from a humble background and later became a nun. How did this nun enter the palace and become the mother of the emperor? How did Empress Dowager Liu acquire the right to raise Renzong? There is a hidden story of palace intrigue behind this. The story begins with Renzong's father, Prince Jiaqing of Xiang. When he was young, Jiaqing fell in love with a woman of low birth, Liu, who had even been married before. Jiaqing knew that according to royal protocol, his father, Emperor Taizong of Song, would never allow such a woman to enter the royal palace. But Jiaqing, blinded by love, was determined that Liu was his true love. Sure enough, when Emperor Taizong found out, he was furious and ordered Jiaqing to get rid of Liu, so she would not tarnish the royal family's reputation. However, Emperor Taizong underestimated his son's determination. Zhao Heng secretly hid Lu Yi in the home of a trusted subordinate, thus evading the emperor's scrutiny. Lu Yi did not cry and lament over her difficult situation. Instead, she showed a remarkable calmness. Not only did she refrain from pressuring Zhao Heng to fight for her status, but she also took the initiative to cooperate and help him conceal their relationship. Thus, this secret affair quietly lasted for 15 years, until Emperor Taizong's death, and Zhao Heng ascended the throne. After becoming emperor, Zhao Heng immediately brought Lu Yi into the palace. However, due to Lu Yi's humble origins and her previous marriage, he did not make her empress. At that time, Lu Yi did not rush to seek power. Instead, she chose to hide her talents and bide her time. Lu Yi knew very well that, given her background, she could not compare with the other concubines. Most of the women in the palace, including the empress and other concubines, came from prestigious families, relying on strong family support to establish themselves in the palace. Lu Yi, on the other hand, had no family background and no support. So she had to rely entirely on her own efforts. After years of enduring, she was no longer the weak woman she once was. She had learned how to establish herself in the complex palace environment and had become an important figure who could not be ignored. This also set the stage for the later switching of the crown prince. Soon, Lu Yi spent another 15 years in the palace, living a caged bird existence. However, this time did not wear down her fighting spirit. On the contrary, Lu Yi used this period to read and study, striving to improve herself. At the time, most people believed that a woman's virtue lies in her lack of talent, but Lu Yi became famous for her extensive knowledge. Her 15 years of patience not only honed her willpower but also gave her a deep understanding of the political situation. She had always been waiting for an opportunity. Soon, the opportunity arrived. Empress Gua, Zhao Heng's first wife, passed away, leaving the position of empress vacant. By this time, Lu Yi's position in the harem was the highest. But she did not rush to show herself or demand to be named empress. Instead, she chose a more subtle way to gain support. At this time, Zhao Heng had few children, and Lu Yi was pregnant. This news made Zhao Heng overjoyed. His affection for Lu Yi, combined with the fact that her pregnancy helped alleviate the doubts among the officials about his lack of heirs, made the situation favorable for her. To ensure the safety of the child, Lu Yi suggested going to a temple to pray for blessings. According to records in the Song Gong Ci, Lu Yi miscarried during her visit to the temple. Zhao Heng, worried that Lu Yi would be deeply saddened by the loss, arranged with the wet nurse to bring a child to comfort her. Although this part of the story is somewhat dramatized, some historical facts do align. Lu Yi did indeed miscarry before going to the temple. Lu Yi knew that without a child, it would be exceptionally difficult to establish herself in the harem. After the miscarriage, she decided to go to the temple again to pray for blessings, which also inadvertently changed the fate of a nun. According to historical records, during her visit to the temple, Lu Yi encountered a beautiful nun named Li, who had a striking appearance and a background similar to her own. Lu Yi, who had come from a poor background and had struggled in life after the death of her father, felt great sympathy for this nun. After the prayer, when Lu Yi returned to the palace, she brought back a beautiful woman, none other than the nun, Li. It turned out that Lu Yi, feeling sympathy for Li's plight, had taken the initiative to bring her into the palace and arrange for her to become her maid. Li, who was unwilling to grow old alone in the cold temple, gladly accepted Lu Yi's offer. Once, it was Lu Yi's turn to attend to the emperor, and she was planning something crucial. According to the rules of the imperial harem, before attending to the emperor, a concubine had to bathe and change clothes. Lu Yi took this opportunity to arrange for the newly appointed palace maid, Li Shi, to bathe and change. Li Shi was exceptionally beautiful, and Zhao Heng was immediately attracted to her upon seeing her. That night, he favored her. Soon after, Li Shi became pregnant, as if fate itself was aiding Liu Yi in her plans. After 10 months, Li Shi gave birth to a boy. Liu Yi immediately took the child in her arms and claimed him as her own. As the saying goes, a mother becomes noble through her son. Liu Yi used this child to solidify her position. Jiaqing had always felt indebted to Liu Yi, and at that time, there were few heirs. The birth of this child greatly pleased him. He believed Liu Yi had done a great service by giving birth to a son, and thus he formally proclaimed her as empress. It is worth mentioning that many historical stories and films have dramatically embellished this tale, such as the legend of the fox spirit replacing the prince. Some even suggest that Liu Yi, fearing the truth would be exposed, treated Li Shi harshly and even intended to eliminate her. However, history tells a different story. The real Liu Yi treated Li Shi very kindly and later even promoted her to consortly. She was also very affectionate toward Li Shi's child, who would later become Emperor Renzong of Song, Zhen. This legendary story not only showcases Liu Yi's wisdom and courage but also reflects her strategic foresight in the power struggle. According to relevant historians, Emperor Renzong of Song, Zhen, is highly regarded in history. And his era was a vital part of the flourishing Song dynasty. During his reign, many virtuous ministers and famous generals emerged, among them the well-known Bao Zheng. Bao Zheng, known for his impartiality and swift justice, became the prototype of the legendary Justice Bao in many Chinese films and TV series. Zhen ascended to the throne at the age of 13 and ruled for 42 years. His governance style has been summarized in one word: benevolence. Whether dealing with ministers, palace maids, or eunuchs, Emperor Renzong always displayed a heart of compassion. As the emperor, holding the ultimate power of life and death, he dedicated his life to the prosperity of the Song dynasty and is considered one of the greatest rulers in Chinese history. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone, and see you in the next time.